Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast.
I'm Ken Chester. I want to talk about Nissan. And I'm worried about Nissan right now. I'll tell you why. They're in the middle of laying off 9,000 people. They've already scrapped their latest plan to return to profitability and develop new products between now and the end of the decade in an attempt to try to survive. They've been late to the party, which is ironic when it comes to EVs because Nissan produced one of the first EVs to hit the market back about 15, 16 years ago with the introduction of the Nissan Leaf in 2009. The only other things on the road at that time of any weight was Toyota's Prius, which was a hybrid, and Chevy's Bolt with a V, which was what they call an extended range vehicle, which basically was a hybrid. That was it. That was the marketplace back then. Yes, other automakers kind of dabbled in EVs here and there and dabbled in hybrids, and GM did have their EV back in the 90s that actually debuted as a Saturn, and GM would not sell them to you. They took them back, they leased it, and crushed them all, and the people who had them loved them. But the range wasn't all that great, and they were limited what they could do. Nissan started, and somewhere from then till now, kind of got behind the eight ball. As other automakers woke up, and even BMW, 2015, said that the way we're doing things is no longer sustainable. We're going all electric. They said that now almost 10 years ago. So did Toyota. So did Ford. So did GM. They all said it within a couple of years of each other. Nissan's pure EV, their SUV, the Ariya, which is wonderful. I drove one, was blown away. It was one of those vehicles that even if it had a gasoline engine in it, you would buy it. It's that good. But they're limited in how many they can build. And now the problem with EVs is it requires a brand new supply chain, brand new factories. You can't use your engine plants, your transmission plants. You got to build brand new battery plants. You got to change the plant floor. It's a whole new world out there. It takes billions with a B of dollars. In the midst of Nissan's challenges with Renault and their former chairman, Carlos Ghosn, and everything else going on in the world, they fell behind the eight ball. Now they claim, and this is Automotive News, that new platforms from Nissan will support 4 or 5 vehicles and multiple powertrains and help the Japanese automaker slash development and production costs. Nissan is overhauling its product pipeline for an electrified future. I have to ask, is it too little, too late? And what kind of discipline will Nissan have with respect to all this cost cutting they're in the middle of? Because if Nissan does the American thing, they're going to cut R&D, which is a major mistake. You don't do that. They've been one of the few U.S. brands that has still been investing in sedans in the United States. They're finally bailing on that, although the one vehicle that they may still make, at least till the end of this decade, is the long-term Nissan Sentra, which they've been building for almost 40 years. And it's done nothing but get better. The automaker is going to get rid of their subcompact Versa. I say good riddance. The nation's least expensive new vehicle after the Mitsubishi Mirage, which also good riddance, after 2025. Not sure what they're going to do about the Altima. The Altima is now in its 31st year. They're not really sure if they're going to continue it or whatever. And if they do continue it, they're going to turn it into a hybrid or a plug-in EV. I say, forget the plug-in, go with the hybrid, let it go. Nissan expects to expand the battery-powered lineup to have zero-emission vehicles make up more than 40% of the U.S. sales by 2030. Nissan, you're a little light on crossovers and SUVs. You don't have a pickup truck, a big one anymore. You threw the towel in on the Titan, which would have been a perfect vehicle to turn into a hybrid and an electrified vehicle. Would have been perfect to ease their way back into the market and give people something different. But in the middle of all of this, and the pandemic aside, which delayed their Ariya for a couple of years, they plan right now to build 2 sedans, 3 crossovers at its Kent, Mississippi plant, which I was there the day they opened it back in 2004. It's an amazing place. They are exploring plans for a lightweight Frontier-size electric pickup. They need to do that. Why? Because even if they build it as a hybrid right now, Ford is still going gangbusters with their entry-level Maverick pickup truck, particularly when they introduced it, which was a masterstroke of genius. When they introduced it a few years ago, you could get the EV version, the hybrid version of it. You can get the hybrid version of it for less than $20,000 brand new. They were sold out for 2 years. People, if the price is right, people will buy it. Nissan needs to come in with something like that. Maybe even a pickup smaller than Frontier, go all EV and hybrid. Don't even offer a gasoline version. Go hybrid and EV, bring out a smaller, get back to their roots. I mean, the Japanese manufacturers came to our shores with small compact pickups that were bulletproof. These suckers were bulletproof and everybody owned one. And they were awesome. Mazda built one, Toyota built one, Nissan built one. And they made money. And it worked. So I just don't know. Now, the Ariya lineup was expanded last year with an all-wheel drive version of the vehicle. It features a twin-motor system dubbed E-Force that Nissan said is 50% faster at reacting to tire slippage and other road conditions. I drove an E-Force. Again, I loved it. But again, Nissan can't scale or won't be able to scale that thing at volume. They're not going to be selling tens of thousands of these, at least not right away. And that's really unfortunate because it is that good. But the numbers just aren't there. They claim that they're bringing an electric compact crossover based on their CMF EV platform, which underpins the Ariya, and it should get here in late 2027, which means it's a 2028 model, which means that's towards the end of the decade. Nissan, you're in the middle of major cost cutting and revamping. You're in the middle of a crisis. Do you have the wherewithal to stay the course? Do you see what's going on? Because this would have been, and it is, a rough row to hoe, even if you weren't having the internal problems you got right now with trying to sell cars that ain't selling and trying to reconfigure and stop the stench of money you're losing. It's going to take billions of dollars to do this. And honestly, the last number I heard from Nissan was $18 billion, and that's not enough. GM and Ford started with more money than that, and both of them bumped up their commitment even now, and nobody's backing off, even though sales have softened. It's the ebb and flow of the auto industry. Sales are strong, sales get weak. It don't matter that it's an EV or not. As they scale up and they get their act together and get drive prices down, the public will warm up as they resolve the issues that keep people from buying EVs, charging time, range, availability, loss in extreme weather, either extreme heat or extreme cold. As they tackle and eliminate those problems, these become doable, more doable. But the problem is everybody and his sister is in the competition. New manufacturers, old manufacturers, repurposed manufacturers. Everybody's there. The question is, Nissan, is there a place for you? And we haven't even talked about Infiniti yet, as they're trying to remake themselves, which is the upscale part of Nissan. Next, I share my impressions of the 2024 Land Rover Defender 110. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
Dinner is served.
They had a Ming vase. They had a Rembrandt. Even Louis XVI's favorite chair. But of all their prized possessions, there's only one they haven't had to replace. The Range Rover. Range Rover, the world's most capable luxury vehicle.
The commercial was worth watching, but I would have fired the butler. He was very destructive, but he couldn't destroy the Range Rover, and that was the point of the commercial. If only reality was true as fiction sometimes. The Land Rover Defender was introduced to the world back in 1983. And up to then, from 1948 till then, the Land Rover nameplate was the name of the series of SUVs that it had produced since 1948 across 3 series. And honestly, it was the British attempt to mimic the success of the Jeep that was developed for World War II. With the advent of the Land Rover Discovery in 1989, the Land Rover 110, smaller 90, which was introduced in 1985, and larger 130 were grouped under the Defender model line name. Built in Nitra, Slovakia, and sold in 128 countries, the all-new Defender was unveiled in September 2019 at the 2019 Frankfurt Motor Show in Germany. This is the first all-new Defender since its original launch in 1983. And the all-new model has traded its truck-like body-on-frame underpinnings for an aluminum underbody construction. The Defender 110 is available in 5 models with 4 specific equipment packages: Explorer, Adventure, Country, and Urban, that are designed for the driver to personalize their vehicle to their own individual taste. Land Rover continues to maintain an upscale ruggedness for each of their models, and the Defender is no exception. Now, I'm going to defer a little bit. When I wrote this, I was going to say that, that the base engine was the Ingenium 3.0 turbocharged gasoline V6. But for the record, you can also buy in the 110 a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo, which also drops the price about $7,000. And on that 2-liter turbo, the performance numbers on it are, it's 296 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque. That is actually the base engine. I wanted to be correct on that. But you could also opt for the Ingenium 3.0 turbocharged inline 6 with electric boost. It's a mild hybrid that makes 395 horsepower and 406 foot-pounds of torque. Energy is communicated to all four wheels through a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. EPA fuel economy numbers for the six-cylinder are 17 city, 20 highway. Cargo capacity is 78.8 cubic feet. And towing capacity, and again I'm talking about the inline 6, is 8,200 pounds. Motorists who desire optimal on- and off-road performance, along with the ability to select specific vehicle attributes for almost any situation, can add a suite of performance equipment which are grouped under two option packages: Advanced Off-Road Capability Pack and the Off-Road Pack. The first option pack adds all-terrain progress control, terrain response 2, and configurable terrain response. The Off-Road Pack adds electronic active differential and off-road tires. The driver has 9 different modes, drive modes, 9 of them. And it includes vehicle height adjustments, a low traction launch option, and a 2-speed transfer case with an extremely low range, which means when we talk crawl, this thing can crawl if you need to. As a result, there's almost nothing this Land Rover can't tackle on or off-road. The Defender 110 has a wading depth of almost 36 inches and can reverse a grade, get this now, of 45 degrees. That's up, down, and sideways. It can do 45-degree incline. And not that I needed to mention this, but the six-cylinder has a 0 to 60 time of 5.8 seconds. Here's what I liked about the vehicle. First and foremost, the Defender 110 is a looker that's smooth, powerful, and quiet at speed. The driver sits in what I call a bolt upright position that is more of a perch that allows the motorist an elevated place to see everything that's happening around the vehicle, which in the upper Midwest means the ability to see in the ditches for errant deer that love to dart in front of moving vehicles at the worst possible moment. Front and rear fog lights. It's a European thing. It helps to see and be seen in low visibility. Accommodation includes hand grips at all 4 doors to facilitate entry and exit, with plenty of nooks and crannies throughout the cabin for storage. Rear seat passengers enjoy plenty of legroom for optimum comfort. And a large panoramic roof light adds to the airiness of the cabin. Access to the rear cargo door is a door, not a hatch, which offers some advantages. And speaking of the cargo area, it's tall, square, and deep, with the split rear seats folding flat with the cargo floor. And finally, a full-service spare tire is bolted to the cargo door, not under the vehicle, as in the case with most SUVs in the marketplace, but that placement has its own set of challenges, and that means rear window visibility. You kind of lose that. I think if I'm going to be off-road, I'd be okay with that. Here's what I didn't like about the vehicle. Although the graphic presentation of the infotainment system suggests a seamless and upscale experience, it was anything but. Overall, I found that the combination of displays, controls, and switchgear with its multi-function switches and displays took some time to getting used to. They are not intuitive, something I find unacceptable at a vehicle at this price point. And despite the beauty and sophistication of the all-new Defender, I'm going to be honest with you. I do have some lingering concerns about the long-term quality and durability of the vehicle. And I believe, honestly, that only time will tell. And then finally, I'm questioning the placement of the HVAC vents. And this is not usually something I have an issue with in the climate, in the cabin. But for some reason, the Defender 110 does not accomplish this very well. And oh yes, and these are a couple of want-to-haves, this SUV needs a heads-up display, and it needs a front bumper-mounted electric winch, especially if you plan to take things off-road. So here's the bottom line. Beautiful, elegant, sophisticated, quiet, and fast. All terms I can easily use to describe the 2024 Defender 110. If you can master the multifunctionness of the displays and controls, and that you have faith that the automaker has finally exercised the gremlins that have plagued earlier efforts, then a multifaceted ability to go anywhere and do anything might just be enough to seduce you into a test drive. The manufacturer suggested retail price for the Defender 110 starts from $67,800 for the Defender S, and that's with the 6, up to $167,800 for the Defender 110 OCTA Edition 1. Destination charges add $1,625. If you're looking at the 4-cylinder, you're more like $60,000, $700 to start, if you'd rather have that. And I didn't get a chance to test drive that one, but I can tell you that 6, it was fun to drive. Lots of fun. And I'm just hoping, I'm rooting for him, because it's a beautiful vehicle. And if the quality holds up, it's going to be awesome. On the heels of 5G comes 6G, and they want it to work in urban areas. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you've missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. Those of you that are regular listeners on this program know I love to keep you up to date on all things going on, particularly technology, particularly when it comes to communication technology. So I want to introduce you to 6G. For those of you in the know, it represents the next performance threshold in the world of cell phone communications. Now, although the implementation is not scheduled until the 2030s, there's a significant effort underway right now for its development. And you need to know. This is topic B. Little background, because you know I'm all about that background. So let me explain what it is. In telecommunications, 6G is the designation for a future technical standard of a 6th-generation technology for wireless communications. It is the planned successor to 5G. It is the planned successor to 5G. Yes, they're planning a successor. And it's currently in the early stages of the standardization process with an already defined framework and overall objectives. So why 6G? They believe the 6G networks will likely be significantly faster than previous generations, thanks to further improvements in radio interface modulation and coding techniques. And I'm going to get in a little bit in the weeds here, as well as physical layer technologies. Proposals include a ubiquitous connectivity model, which could include non-cellular access, such as satellites and Wi-Fi, precise location services, and a framework for distributed edge computing supporting more sensor networks. Other goals include network simplification and increased interoperability. Lower latency, that means quicker connect times, and energy efficiency, using less power. It should enable network operators to adopt flexible, decentralized business models for 6G with local spectrum licensing, spectrum sharing, infrastructure sharing, and intelligent, automated management. In other words, getting more efficient with the resources currently in use now to get more out of them without spending more for infrastructure. That's what it means. Some have even proposed that machine learning AI systems can be leveraged to support these functions. Gee, what a shock that is. I'm not shocked at that. Not at all. Not at all. But here's the issue. Really, with 6G coming, and they're talking 2030s, there's a fella, and this is out of Microwave and RF magazine, because I told you I look all over the place. And the writer is making a case that as they develop 6G, that they look at ways to overcome some of the shortcomings of 5G, particularly in very dense urban settings where the buildings and trying to get a signal are a problem. And that very often, if you're trying to use your phone in a situation, it will actually default to 4G LTE, which is way older and a lot slower. At high frequencies and short wavelengths for low-band 5G, and their short wavelengths, that's the problem, the density of an urban environment poses challenges for network coverage and capacity. And even as R&D forges ahead for its eventual move to 6G, the cellular industry scratches its collective head as to how it might improve the user experience in the short term. They're looking at resolving the shortcomings of 5G now, even as they develop 6G. 6G is less than 10 years away. And they're working very hard on it and all sorts of stuff. And I left out all the weeds. I didn't want to drag you all the way into the weeds and into the mud and everything because I was afraid you might get lost. We didn't go that far. But it's a big effort with a lot of major players. Take my word for it. From you've got your folks developing the chips to the companies that use it to the companies that make equipment for it. The big deal about 6G, Internet of Things, automated vehicles, autonomous vehicles, AI, because it uses a lot of power, and just the movement of data at faster and faster speeds. In fact, one of the major concerns that they're looking at with 6G that I didn't even think about is that because of the high transmission speeds that 6G would allow, they've got energy consumption problems and thermal protection in the electronic circuits. It's moving at such a high speed, pushing so much data through, it might actually overheat the circuits. So they're looking at that. And that's buried. Now, they don't know what the frequency bands are going to be for 6G yet. They're looking at some things. And, of course, there's a lot of papers and everybody's meeting and standardizing things. But can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where even now, while things are pretty fast and at your fingertips, but it could be literally intuitive, almost to the point where you barely think it and it's there, where latency time goes from nanoseconds to nothing, absolutely nothing. You hit it, it happens now. And then, in fact, faster than now. Things keep evolving. And part of the challenge of all this data and all this information is being able to manipulate it faster and faster and faster to get a quicker result, because people don't want to wait for nothing. And if you're using AI to do all of that at the speed that it's doing and the amount of data that it's doing, I think it might be time for a little bit of concerns, because if you are processing that much data, because they're building data centers. They're building a lot of data centers. The big problem, we've talked about this, is that power needs are being driven by AI and larger and larger and more data centers around the country. If AI is allowed, if AI has the ability at a 6G platform to scale, manipulate data at ever-increasing speeds to come up with more intricate and complex solutions, where in this do we fit in? Where in this do we have guardrails? And, have we let the genie out of the bottle? And by the time 6G whirls around, because right now we're in the throes of AI evolving at a faster and faster rate. Now you've got a way to transfer information, and AI is manipulation of information. Large blocks of information. That is its strength, to take all this, to find patterns and extrapolate and suggest and make decisions. AI is quickly going past the ability of just giving you options. It's the point in some situations where it can actually act on the information that it's compiled. 6G is a major part of that. Autonomous cars won't exist without 6G because, again, all the data And in that case, it's mapping road data, condition data, state of health data for the EV battery, all of that information in real time. And imagine compiling all of that and what you could do with all that information literally in the blink of an eye. What's missing in this conversation with 6G is the regulatory and ethical conversation, and exactly how do they plan to combine AI to optimize what 6G can and cannot do. Again, no regulations. Who is going to provide the guidelines and the guide rails to make sure that this doesn't fall into the hands of bad actors? And imagine what they can do with it. 6G's coming. It's faster. They're having those conversations now, and they want to overcome problems like urban centers. And they will. Next up, why automakers are asking the government to force them to sell EVs. We are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than aonmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. aonmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. In many cases, big business chafes at the multitudes of government rules and regulations that they are required to comply with during the course of regular business. However, in those industries with long lead times and heavy capital requirements, predictability is more important than changes that can be considered favorable to them. This is the automaker's dilemma, and this is Topic C. The message to the incoming administration from the nation's automakers, and I quote, "Don't scrap the federal regulations that compel the industry to sell electric vehicles." Why would General Motors, Ford, Stellantis, Mercedes, BMW, Volvo, Honda, Toyota, why would they say that? The automobile is already one of the most highly regulated machines that you come in contact with almost every single day. Everything about that vehicle that you drive is federally regulated. From the steering wheel, how the automatic transmission shift points are identified, what the dashboard looks like, the power in the headlights, what the tires are supposed to do, all of that is regulated. Even the placement of where you put the gasoline in the vehicle is federally regulated. Most of that is codified under the Clean Air Act, and some of it codified under something called Motor Vehicle Safety Standards. And there's a ton of them. Why would automakers do that? I got a number for you. I have a number for you. Here's why. $146 billion with a B. $146 billion. The scale of the investment that American car makers have made in electric vehicles over the past 3 years in design, engineering, and manufacturing of electric vehicles. The last 3 years. And that's according to the Center for Automotive Research, a nonprofit organization in Ann Arbor. When the incoming administration first came in office originally, back in 2017, there were less than 6 EV battery plants in the United States. Today, there are over 36. Many of them joint ventures between automakers and battery companies. That is according to the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. Except for Tesla, most automakers still sell their electric vehicles at a loss because they have not yet recouped their investments. This is standard in the auto industry. They also need to sell at scale to bring down production costs. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. The average automobile assembly plant that builds a gasoline version vehicle has a build rate. It's designed to run 250,000 vehicles a year. If they massage it a little bit and they really optimize it, you can run it close to 300,000. But that's running on all cylinders, and that's everything. What we mean by scale, you have to build so many in order to take your fixed overhead and spread it across enough vehicles to get the cost down so you can recoup your investment. Automakers have been doing that for years because automakers, the auto industry, I've said it many times, is cost intense. It takes billions of dollars to do anything. Here's a bombshell for you don't know. As I'm here, broadcasting here, in the United States of America in November 2024. 2025 models have just started hitting the dealerships. Here's something you don't know, and I want to find it because I want to read it right. Rolling back the rules would also pose a problem because automakers plan models years in advance. Here's this. Developers in Detroit have already design the cars they expect to put into showrooms for the 2028 model year. 4 years from now, they're already locked in. It will take 12 months just to make the dies for the assembly plant. There's long lead times in the automotive industry. They spend billions of dollars to launch this stuff. The big thing they want is predictability. They do not want the whiplash of this or that. Here's the other thing. Because they spent all that money and they're locked in like that, they don't want some upstart coming in and underselling them gasoline cars and they're locked in, can't change. This is not as easy as, the rules have changed, so we'll just retool the plant. On average, for an automaker to retool a plant to meet new demand takes 3 years. 3 years. It is not something they can do in a couple of weeks. It's not something they can do in a couple of months. There's money to be spent, tooling, supply chain issues, verification, certification issues. It's a major deal. They cannot turn on a dime. None of them. They've been working hard in recent years to get their development times down and everything. It's still a long lead time, capital-intensive business. They don't want other companies that don't have or haven't spent the same kind of money they've spent following the same kind of rules that they've locked in years ago, and they're following the playbook to come in and undercut them and put them out of business. Tariffs and all. Here's something. Think about this. They changed the rules. China's already building plants in Mexico. Even if the tariffs go through, they could probably build a car less than what Detroit can do and sell it in the United States through Mexico and Canada, which is something else, and it's a subject for another time. I won't get into, but the automakers build and shift supplies, vehicles, equipment between Mexico, Canada, and the United States. The problem we got here, they want predictability. It's how they're able to do their product plans, work with their supplier chains, develop new products, get things tested. It's a challenge why not everybody makes it in the auto business. It is billions of dollars to play and no guarantees. And the folks that are still in the business, they risk and bet billions of dollars to do what they do and hope they're right. They don't need situations where they cannot predict the future, because if they guess wrong, in some cases, it could cost the entire company. They want the federal government not to change. And their slogan right now, mend it, don't end it. They're in favor of changes and maybe a little weakening of the standards, but they don't want it pitched out because they're really concerned that all their planning gets tossed in the dumpster. Somebody comes in and undercuts them, puts them out of business because they can't compete. If everybody's playing by the same rules, then they can go. And right now, the rules are EVs, according to the EPA, by 2032. That's the issue. That's where we're at. That's why they want to do it. Not because they're being forced to. They just want an even playing field. And it's a big deal. We have come to the end of our visit. Be sure to join me again right here next time. This has been the Tech Mobility Show.
The Tech Mobility Show is a copywritten production of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.